So we'll go back a little bit again to the work that you do, or you have done work with the Cleveland Clinic Wellness Institute. Do you want to explain a little bit about this collaboration?
Well, Dr. Roizen was the chair there. And in fact, he was a very kind early angel investor to take the leap to build a business out of the opportunity. Really, so we've been given space in their incubator for innovations. We've been there for quite some time. We have access to tremendous amounts of research and opportunity, but it has also been able to teach us the limits of where complementary therapies can go in a, the largest of the large healthcare institutions, right? An example is the ability to make an insurance reimbursement. Okay, we can create outcome data that is rock solid and worthy of use as a drug. It's a respectably made, quality made thing. However,
did you say comparative therapy?
Complementary
Therapy. Can you briefly just say what that is?
As an adjunct to, so for example, in post-operative situations, there's nausea. We complement the traditional pharmaceutical protocol. So you take a sniff of this tube, and if it stops your vomiting, that costs the hospital $5. If it doesn't work, they fall back to Zofran. But it's funny because Zofran is actually got a lower success rate than ours, but they're covered by insurance. Here in the US, we see this problem in senior care, where the majority of care is parceled and paid for by Medicaid. And so, we did a study about sleep. We kept people asleep all night, but it cost 50 cents a day. And the guy's like, we can give them Valium, diazepam is free. And so that's what we have to do because we're not reimbursed. So this reimbursement means that you've got to make an FDA drug in order to get reimbursed for the most part, right? And the license or the permit to do that is $650,000 last time I checked, right? So there's an ecosystem of large hospitals and pharma that just the way it's worked, and extended life for people, and all these modern miracles that we experience every day, it makes it difficult to break into that particular market without going the path of a pharmaceutical company that obviously has larger resources than an aromatherapy company. So good and bad things, I shouldn't say bad, just we learn the lay of the land and how long it takes and the processes. We run into researchers all the time now. For example, there's an amazing new thing we found that is a sunscreen that doesn't cause cancer. It's an amazing innovation, and in a few years, you'll probably be seeing it. But we're helping partners of ours bring that to market. So it's great. It gives great credibility. We're there, we have access to doctors, but it's really hard to make them a customer. We have to do it through the chaplain's office.
Yeah.
So
that's highlighting a very, also like kind of a bureaucratic way of the United States and insurance companies, right? Which is something that you don't think about every day, but
sure.
Apparent here.
Well, in the contrary sense, in France, we're very well received. Our products are noted and people like them, and our research is held up as good quality research because there isn't the prejudice that I feel had been fostered by multi-level marketing, where you'll say anything to sell a pack of bottles to your neighbor.
Yeah.
And that's led to this prejudice.
But France really believes in this, was it complementary therapy or
Yeah, well, complementary and integrative medicine would be
yeah,
the full and formal title of this branch,
yeah.
at least here.
So I think you've kind of answered this question, but I want to give you an opportunity to maybe specifically answer it. Why is it important to use aromatherapy techniques in hospitals and healthcare institutions? Maybe you want to give an example or something from your work.
Well, I mean, I guess the first and primary example is it costs less. It's much cheaper to give someone a sniff of an odor from a tube than it is to give them an injection or a prescription or something. Secondarily, it's people are, I talk about this intersection of wellness and health care. People are demanding more from their physicians. They say, do you have something that's not so hard on my body? I take 7 prescriptions right now. I don't want to take an 8th. Do you have something that's better or different or things like that? So it's an alternative to harsher products or techniques that yield the same result. It's a great first line of defense. If you get in a car crash and break your leg, you don't need aromatherapy, you need some morphine or something, Yeah. But in long-term care, in dialysis, it makes all the difference in the world. In imaging, it can make you relaxed. So there are great applications. It just takes time to spread it through the system.
And do you focus mainly on inhalation, or do you also work with other methods?
Yeah, terrific question. We've talked about nausea relief, quite a bit here on the call, but isn't it nice to be able to just give this a puff instantly when you need it? We haven't talked about habituation, and that's a really big aspect of it. And I'll just kind of go there from here. When you're exposed to a smell, and I think again, back on the savanna evolutionary, if you were exposed to a bad smell, I call it a dirty locker room smell, right? You walk in, you go, oh my gosh, this place smells terrible. And then 5 minutes later, you don't even smell it anymore because you've become accustomed to it, right? So the electrical signal from the nose to the brain, the brain says, okay, I got it, I'm not listening anymore. It's like going la, la, la. That habituation, say you want to keep someone asleep all night, you need to expose them to the scent and then wait another 25 minutes to half an hour and expose them again. So we have a lot of experience in observing healthcare situations to know these habituation timelines. So if you're trying to make a better dental experience and reduce dental anxiety, which is a huge issue, you leave it running all the time, the person walks in, they get that fragrance, and then they go back and get their treatment, and their anxiety is lowered. Whereas someone who's getting dialysis and can't move for 4 hours, that scent needs to be made intermittent so that the calm, the lower reduced anxiety biochemistry remains consistent over 4 hours.
That's a good topic to talk about as well, I think, habituation.
Yeah. If I could jump back though to something you mentioned earlier, art and environments. When we put our things in the air, you have to imagine that in a hospital, you cannot have residual effects. Even a water-based diffuser like you buy at the regular stores, that means waters are potential spills are problems. It means mildew, it means mold, it means contaminants. So we had to find a way to polymerize this gel or this into a gel, the essential oils, without losing it. The big outcome here is that it becomes beyond nebulized. It's just they're actually, VOCs aren't all bad. A rose is a VOC when you put your nose by it, right? So these go into the air, they're practically immeasurable. And so actually a friend of mine who does very similar things in France was permitted to perform in the Hall of Versailles during an orchestral piece with fragrance going along with it. And you can only imagine the level of scrutiny an emission of fragrance in Versailles got, right?
Mhm.
It was a no-go zone. So, these things are really, it's important to think about how they are put into the air, because sometimes they're just sprayed, especially when you've got some less than happy ingredients in there. There are some fairly toxic fragrance out there. I'm sure everyone's walked into a hotel lobby and said, oh my God, what is that horrible stuff? And that leaves residue on everything. So it's kind of an important point.
Yeah.